Hi, I'm Amy, and I'm going to be talking about my assessment philosophy. First, I'd like to talk about how I understand assessment. And I understand assessment and art therapy assessment to be an evaluation that's based on putting meaning to art material the client's created and meaning to the process the client has engaged in order to decide in an appropriate treatment plan. Assessment provides information to both the client and the therapist to understand and respond to clients' concerns and to make a plan. I see the assessment process as collaborative, and therefore the client and is there for the client to improve awareness, knowledge, and potentially skills, depending on what the assessment's for, and is meant to facilitate learning for the client. So when it comes to all of the different art therapy assessments that we did, or the assessments we did, I'm honing in on the art therapy assessments. I really enjoyed most of them. I really think it's good to practice being in the client's shoes, if even to like a small degree. We're not in an actual office. The anxiety level's different. There are a lot of things that are different about it. But just to be able to have an understanding of what each assessment might feel like, I think was really important. Having the firsthand experience also helped me to know which of the assessments I felt like I'm most aligned with in my philosophy. One of my favorites, I'd say, was the art therapy dream assessment, largely because I've always found dreams really intriguing, and I can see myself exploring clients' dreams with them. And this I found particularly helpful in unraveling like the seemingly like disjointedness, the like disjointed quality that dreams can have. I thought that there was a lot of insight to gain from that art therapy assessment. I also really enjoyed the belief art therapy assessment, which I was surprised about. I didn't think I was going to get into that one as much as I did. I just love the way that Ellen Horowitz really encapsulates the agnostic and atheist perspectives. That's the direction I really went with it. The potential to be spiritual without a belief in God is prevalent. Many people have this understanding of the mystical nature of what's beyond our consciousness. I thought it was a great way of exploring my beliefs by putting them into a creative expression. It really made me have to break down what my belief is because it can feel really ambiguous. And so to have to really break it down and represent it in color and shape and form, it's actually really powerful. I can also see using the kinetic house tree person assessment with clients. I really thought the action part of that assessment brought to life a whole story that I was able to gain insight into. So I could really see that being helpful with clients, and like surprising what kind of comes out of it for them. And I also just love how it can be used with all ages, children and adults. Another assessment I really enjoyed was the diagnostic drawing series. In spite of the sensory aspect that was difficult with the chalk pastels, I wore gloves because I just knew I was going to be too caught up in the sensory overload. So I wore gloves, which really helped. And then I was able to get more into like, the emotional and cognitive stuff. What I enjoyed so much about it was really due to how large I got to work, like the size of the paper being 18 by 24. I really enjoyed that, especially while using chalk pastel. And I also really enjoyed the artistic freedom in this particular assessment. I also think that there's a lot to be revealed through chalk pastels. It's really soft and flowy like a paint, yet there's still that control of drawing material. I can see it as a great way to slowly move from one medium to another, without having to like totally let go into the cognitive or totally let go into the emotional. It's kind of this happy medium place of connecting the emotions and the body with the mind. And when I was thinking about what was my least favorite art therapy assessment, I really liked them all, honestly, but if I had to pick like a least favorite, it was probably um, the person picking an apple from a tree. Largely because, I mean, I still think it's a really valuable assessment, but to me, it just had the least amount of creative freedom of expression. So I'm going to talk a little bit about cultural considerations and multicultural art. And multicultural art therapy takes into account values, beliefs, and actions influenced by a patient's ethnicity, gender, religion, socioeconomic status, political views, sexual orientation, physical, mental, cognitive abilities, geographic region, historical experiences with the dominant culture, all these things. And cultural considerations also include determining the extent to which like their family and community members might be playing a role in their lives. And assessment is equally effective across multicultural interactions as long as the counselor displays both cultural sensitivity and cultural humility. Multicultural humility relates to the capacity of the art therapist to continually acquire awareness of and knowledge about cultural diversity with regard to oneself and to their clients. So I want to speak to now my assessment philosophy. And I have concluded that my assessment philosophy is Rogerian in its person-centered and client-led approach. I really find the most value in allowing the client to be able to tell me what they have created and to discover their own meaning behind the symbols, the color, the placement, the style. I really want them to lead in me understanding what's going on with them. And in that, I do understand also the value in certain interpretive practices, particularly referring to like the feet scale. Ultimately, though, my determining factors on course of treatment will rely its heaviest on, the client's interpretation of their creative efforts. And then from there, I think, I'll be able to supplement the treatment plan with the feet scale's interpretive suggestions. So to conclude, in my assessment philosophy, I am viewing the person as a whole. I'm including their systemic, historical, cultural, spiritual, and mystical lived experiences, honoring and supporting their unique life journey.